For most of human history, civilizations existed as isolated islands. They were separated by jagged mountain ranges and vast distances that functioned as terrifying barriers. Breaking this isolation required a singular motivation. In the East, the Han Dynasty held the keys to a mystery that every other empire on Earth was desperate to solve. Silk was unlike anything found in the West. It was lightweight, remarkably durable, and possessed a shimmering quality that made this vivid yellow fabric the ultimate status symbol for kings and nobles. China maintained a total monopoly on silk production for centuries, keeping the life cycle of the silkworm a state secret. This created a massive, unfulfilled demand in distant markets like Rome. The sheer profitability of the fabric eventually forced a connection. Merchants began pushing into the deadly unknown, seeking a path to the source of the world's most valuable cargo. What we call the Silk Road was actually a shifting, perilous web of mountain trails and desert paths. It was never a single road, but a gauntlet. Travelers had to survive the Taklamakan Desert, a place so desolate it was known as the Sea of Death. Those who avoided the sands still had to contend with organized bandits and freezing mountain passes. Logistically, a single merchant rarely completed the 4,000-mile journey. Instead, goods moved in a continental relay, changing hands at every major outpost. Every middleman in the chain added their own markup to the price. By the time a shipment reached the Mediterranean, its value had increased by thousands of %. The extreme danger of the route effectively set the price of the goods. Surviving the crossing meant achieving immediate, generational wealth, creating the first truly global economy. This constant movement of wealth gave birth to caravan cities. These outposts exploded out of the desert to serve as vital rest stops for merchant trains. These cities became the most cosmopolitan places on Earth. In a single marketplace, you could find Indian spices, Syrian glass, and Chinese silk being traded by people speaking a dozen different languages. Ancient governments quickly recognized that these cities were more than just service stops. They were geographic choke points that held the keys to the world's wealth. Rulers realized they could fund their entire state apparatus through trade tolls and merchant taxes. Controlling the road became a more efficient way to build an empire than traditional conquest. The network had transformed into a geopolitical chessboard. Every empire in Eurasia began positioning itself to monopolize these specific points of global prosperity. In the East, the Han Dynasty extended their fortifications to protect their merchant caravans. These walls were massive state investments designed to secure the flow of silk to the West. In the center of the route, Persian empires leveraged their position to act as exclusive intermediaries. They extracted enough wealth from the passing trade to build monuments of staggering scale and complexity. But the caravans carried an invisible cargo that the empires couldn't tax. Along with the silk and gold, travelers were transporting revolutionary ideas. Papermaking techniques originated in China and moved westward through these trade hubs. This single technological transfer provided the physical medium that would later allow for the explosion of literacy and administration in Europe and the Middle East. Massive belief systems followed the same path. Buddhism moved from India into East Asia, while Islam expanded through merchant networks, creating the cultural maps that still define these regions today. While the empires fought over the physical gold in the caravans, the network was quietly establishing the intellectual and social foundations of the modern world. Everything changed with the sudden arrival of the Mongols. They are often remembered for the carnage of their conquests, but their victory actually unified nearly the entire Eurasian landmass under one single government. This period, the Pax Mongolica, brought a period of absolute security. A single authority now protected the once fragmented trade routes from one end to the other. With rival borders eliminated, trade saw an unprecedented explosion. The fragmented paths consolidated into efficient arteries of commerce. This unification drastically increased travel speed. Information and luxury goods crossed the continent with efficiency unseen for centuries. Through force, the Mongols created the Golden Age of the Silk Road, linking the known world in a brief era of total connectivity. No political system lasts forever. As Mongol authority weakened, the security of the overland routes evaporated, and the old borders and dangers returned. But the real threat to this ancient network wasn't another marching army. It was the sudden mastery of the oceans. The math of the sea was final. A single ship could carry more cargo than 1,000 camels, moving goods faster and at a lower cost than any desert caravan ever could. Global commerce began to pivot. The world's economic geography moved away from the interior of the continents and toward the coastal ports. Technological innovation and the cold efficiency of shipping eventually rendered the overland network obsolete. The great caravan cities soon lost their reason for existence. Without the flow of merchants, their wealth vanished. These vibrant crossroads were reclaimed by the elements, fading into sun-baked remnants of a forgotten global importance. The legacy of this exchange reached deeper than the ledgers of merchant houses. The paper technology and the cultural movements that survived these deserts provided the essential tools for the later Renaissance and the global religions of today. Long before satellites and fiber optics, human ambition demonstrated that global connectivity is the most enduring engine of history.